A KI writing paper. The KI writing paper section is going to be tested in terms of four criteria. In the next slide, we can see what criteria are. We have first the content, then the organization, followed by language, and finally communicative achievements. The grade, it's going to be graded in 5 bands, being a 5 the highest and 1 the lowest. The first example is the letter. To write a letter, it's useful to identify like 4 parts that are going to help us to write it. The first part is to identify the key information. The key information is what we want to read, what needs to be written as a response. So in this part, we have to avoid irrelevant information and identify the key information that must be in this part. The second part is the organization. In this part, we have like the logical paragraphs. It's going to be assess the clear organization of ideas that we are going to have along paragraphs by using linking words. It's very recommendable to use at least like 2 or 3 paragraphs along with the opening and the closing paragraph. So in total, you're going to have almost like 4 to 5 paragraphs. In part number 3, we have the type of language that we are going to use in the letter. Since letter is a formal document, we are going to use a formal language too. So in this part, it's very is recommendable. It's a must to avoid the use of idiomatical language or contractions. And part number 4, we have the proofreading. After following the previous parts and the steps, in the final part, we can look after some mistakes. We can read again what we have been written, so too we can avoid relevant information. And finally, we have the second example that is going to be the review. The review is a very informal document. So in this part, the language, it could be informal too. We can use contractions or idiomatic expressions that is going to help the reader to be engaged. The reader is very specified, so it's going to help us a lot. And the second slide we have, the review, it contains 2 parts. The first part is about to describe something. It could be an experience, a film, a book, etc. The first paragraph is going to be the title and an introduction. In this part, we have to make sure to write something that could engage the reader. For example, a rhetorical question. And we have to make sure to not add spoilers at the beginning. The second part, finally, is to discuss, to give an ideas, to give maybe an opinion or a recommendation to make the reader to maybe, if it's a film, to watch that film. Here, we are going to identify some topic paragraphs as in the instruction at the beginning that is going to help us to write the main points about it. Include the longest paragraphs and the main pieces of information is also very useful in this part. So then we can include conclusions and recommendations. Do you like it? Do you not? Do you recommend it or not? That's all.
Continue with another example of the second part will be to report. To report is considered a formal paper which includes a description of information and examine part of a situation or something like that. In this case, we're going to continue. For example, what things should a candidate should do to write a KI report? The first thing is to use impersonal and formal style. And the second one is to state the purpose of the report and include some headings. Use the bullet points, but remember to use only in one section of your report and don't exaggerate. The fourth one is to check the report structure that we are going to see in the next slide. Some things that candidates do not use in this kind of report will be like, for example, the contractions, the informal phrases, like meet up, check up, or something like that. And personal expressions like I think or we believe some. In the next slide, we have the structure of KI report. In this case, we have the introduction that is divided here, the subheadings that are, for example, current facilities, and a conclusion that is in the below part. So we can divide the report in 3 main parts.
Okay, in the next section, we have the say. The say is that the task is constructed to enable to the candidates to demonstrate their ability to write at the level C1 and then advanced writing test. Okay, the candidates are required to write an essay between 220 and 260 words. We have to be very careful to read every part of the task. The task and not omit any required development of the topic because we have the input text give us 2 points to develop the essay. Also, the candidates have to explain which of the 2 points is more important and give reasons for their opinions. The essays should be well organized with an introduction, clear development, and appropriate conclusions. In the next slides, we show the things that we don't have to do. For example, improved organization refers when the ideas of the text are not linked, doesn't have coherence. Also, the if we write figure words than required, that means that it is likely to mean that the task has not been successfully successfully completed. If we write more words than required, could be taken likely to irrelevance of repetition of ideas. Next, in the things that we can do, for example, is time planning. Think about how many paragraphs you want to get, then get some ideas about the content of each. In the language, we have to refer to the use of linking words. We need to use advanced vocabulary and more difficult sentence structures. About the organization, we have these RBIs to text like fiercely, whereas, in addition, however, and so on. Properly used, they will make it the writing flow and make the text easier to read. And that's all.
Okay, I will explain about the proposal. First, the proposal may be written specifically for a peer group or for a supervisor, for example, a boss or a college principal. Which are the main characteristics that I have taken into account at the moment to write a proposal? First, the proposal is structured in a similar way than the report, so we can have the report as an example as well. Do we have clearly organized under headings? With this way, we can understand and we can know, we can make the people who is reading to understand what they are reading, okay? Making polite recommendations and suggestions could help to solve a problem that a proposal is requesting or is saying in the headlines. And another point is the use a range of persuasive language. It's recommended to use persuasive language good to engage the reader to continue for sure reading the proposal. And finally, we have the word list. It's about between 2020 and 2060. Yeah, basically that those are the characteristics for the proposal. Next one. Okay, which is the structure of the proposal? First, do we have the introduction, the subheading 1, subheading 2, and then do we have a final recommendation and for sure suggestion? Well, as you can see, do we have an example? The topic says how to improve the quality of language classes, a proposal. So first we need to make an introduction about the aims that this proposal are to. For example, we can use a connection linkers like the main object of this proposal is to and continue. Then the subheading can help us to describe the current situation. What is the problem in a specific? So that we have to specify which is the main problem. In the subheading 2, we can say what do we think. In our point of view, what do we think about the problem and what could be better to do, if improving or letting them like this. And finally, give us final recommendations. Those are that we have to make a recommendation or a suggestion to improve that problem that are we talking about. Basically, that's what a proposal have to be done. Well, at the end we have the references, as you can see, and that's it. Thank you so much.